For a time, we tried to contact him by radio, but no response.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 5. 5 times. Yes, that's right. Episode 5 of the Dumb Marks podcast with your boy Steve and your man Chris. And Chris, how was your week?
Week was pretty good. Not too much going on this week. Didn't even really catch up on any TV or anything. So, how about yourself?
Not bad, not bad. I woke up to an ice box in my house this morning because my wife wanted to leave the windows open whenever, it gets down into the upper 30s, lower 40s. So, a little chilly this morning whenever I woke up. But all in all, very good week and excited to get into everything in the world of professional wrestling, entertainment, and sports. And just as we're sitting here getting ready to record, some breaking news comes across the Sports Center feed here on my phone. Cam Newton tests positive for the coronavirus. We'll get into this more during the sports segment this week, talking about the Steelers-Titans game that got postponed due to corona. We knew it was going to happen. We just weren't sure how the NFL was going to handle it when they did get cases. We saw what Major League Baseball did, but, surprising day before the game, Cam Newton tests positive, so he's obviously out. For the Patriots. Don't know if any other players will test positive. We'll see what happens, but it's very short notice, very late, obviously, Saturday before the game. So we'll see what transpires as the day goes on as far as news coming out in that world surrounding the Patriots and potentially other players and coaches testing positive.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if anything changes for the game this week, just like Steelers and Tennessee. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, so that's some breaking news there, folks. And then some other breaking news this week, which I know we're both excited about. And if you guys haven't done it yet, I highly suggest it. Cobra Kai, the trailer was released. Season 3 gets a date, January 8th. I will be glued to Netflix as soon as it comes out, and we'll probably binge all eight to 10 episodes. I believe they got 10 again. That's what they've been sticking with.
I think so.
So exciting news there, and they also got picked up for a season 4. So we know we're getting at least 2 more years of Cobra Kai.
Yeah, it's really awesome. And I'm just looking up. January 8th is going to be a Friday.
Oh, so it's beautiful.
Definitely going to binge it that weekend.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. See, I watched the first. We touched on it last week. I watched the first 2 seasons last week, and I really enjoyed it. My original plan was to go back and watch all the Karate Kid movies before I watched the series, and I didn't do that. And the series definitely did a great job of talking about everything that happened in the movies, kind of filling in the blanks for you if you didn't remember everything. But even more so now, I kind of want to watch the movies just to keep getting my fill of Cobra Kai and the Karate Kid.
So 2021 looks like it's already off to a better start than 2020, just with them releasing the season 3 of Cobra Kai.
I saw something the other day and I kind of found it funny. It said, "What if 2021 says hold my beer?"
No, not gonna do it. Absolutely not. This.
Let's let this be once in a lifetime.
Yeah, once in a lifetime. We wrapped this up already. We've had enough stuff. Somebody else saw somebody else on Twitter tweeted out that what are the chances by Halloween that we're occupied by aliens? Since UFOs are being sighted everywhere. Yeah. Let's wrap the shenanigans up. We've had enough of this BS during this year.
There was the big shooting star in Pittsburgh here this week. I don't know if you saw that. Lit up the sky.
Lit up the sky. I'm not sure. Officials weren't sure what it was at first. So, it's you can't think 2020 gets any weirder, and that here we go with more things coming out as the year progresses.
And other news this week, the new James Bond movie, No Time to Die, was supposed to come out this month. Originally, it was supposed to come out last November. And then due to Daniel Craig getting injured on the set early on in the movie, they had to push it back just for more editing. So then it got pushed to February of 2020. and then due to COVID, they pushed it to April, and then once that rolled around, they pushed it back to November. Now it's going to be April of 2021.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of movies get pushed around and release dates move back, hoping that people are able to get to the theaters in order to generate revenue at the box office. You saw a couple movies. Mulan for Disney Plus went straight to streaming. You could have bought it for $30 on Disney Plus. Trolls World Tour, when that released, that was available to purchase right away. So maybe the movie industry is gonna adapt and change with the way that they release movies to not only include just theaters but also in-home purchases to get more revenue generated and adjust with the times that we're currently facing with everything going on with COVID. So
yeah, I mean, especially Disney did come out and say they planned for Mulan to only be like a one-time thing on Disney Plus. To pay that extra cost of $30. They've really had to adjust, their Marvel movie strategies and other movies next year. I know Black Widow's been pushed back a few times. It's interesting. I was really looking forward to the Bond movie coming out in November.
So here's a confession. I've never seen a single Bond movie.
Really?
Never.
No interest or just never watched?
I don't know. Just never watched it. I know, like, my brother-in-law tried getting me to watch, I guess, back when, like, Casino Royale and what was the other one that Craig was in?
So Craig started with Casino Royale, then Quantum of Solace, Skyfall, Spectre, and now No Time to Die.
Okay, so basically he's been trying to get me watching it since Craig joined as Bond. Just haven't done it. Like, I don't know why. Maybe I will at some point in time. It's just one of those things that, like, I just never picked up and watched.
I own all of them, so anytime you want to borrow them, I have all of them.
Sweet.
The beginning, I didn't like Casino Royale or Quantum of Solace, and you have to watch those as a two-part movie almost, because at the time that was supposed to be the only two-parter out of his series, but as you go on with Skyfall, I feel could be a standalone. Skyfall is actually my favorite Bond movie outside of some of the original Sean Connery stuff. But whenever they did Spectre after Skyfall, Spectre brought everything together for his series. So, and No Time to Die is going to be a continuation of that. So really, once No Time to Die comes out and is right now still rumored to be his last movie, it's really going to be a 5-part series that all connects.
Okay.
So,
all right. Well, maybe I'll give it a try then and start with them and then go back and see some of the older ones.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, that's been the intro for this week, folks. Chris, why don't you give them the rundown for the show and then we'll get started.
All right, guys. As you know, we do bell to bell for this week in wrestling. We're going to cover WWE Clash of the Champion results and the aftermath this week. We'll also have our Drink of the Week segment, and then we'll touch a little more on this week in sports afterwards.
All right, folks, get ready for the rest of the Tons of Fun Power Hour.
All right, Steve. Last week was WWE Clash of the Champions. What did you think about the show?
Overall, I like the show, especially for the SmackDown portion of the card. Like I said, whenever we talked about it last week, the Raw card, not so much. There were some things that I didn't like. Seeing Sasha Banks on my screen again. We'll get into that as we talk more to the fallout and SmackDown from last night. But overall, I would say it was a solid show. Everybody went out, worked hard. Some of the things were for me, and some of the things weren't.
Yeah, I agree. It's actually the first pay-per-view event that I've watched, and I think I'll even put SummerSlam into this. That's one of the first events I've watched with WWE that I didn't feel like I needed to look away for a little bit or go do something else. Like, it kept my interest, through the majority of the event. A few of the matches, I could take or leave, but overall, I thought it was a solid effort this week.
All right, well then let's get into one of the things that we disagree on from Clash that leads into furthering the storyline on SmackDown this week. So Roman and Jey Uso.
Mm-hmm.
Disco Inferno tweeted out this week after the match. and after the show, Roman match easily 5 stars. It delivered what the wrestling business has sorely missed for such a long time: the suspension of disbelief. If you weren't emotionally invested in that, I would suggest you are in the minority. Hashtag Clash of Champions 2020. I know I'm on board the Disco Inferno train here with the match itself. I loved it. The storytelling was great. It was amazing. Furthered Roman's character, um, and kind of seeing where he's going to go with it. He's the Don Corleone hitman of his own mafia, and they did a good job of showing true emotion and just drawing me in to the whole storyline of the match itself, which was, like Disco said, 5-star match from a storytelling standpoint. I know you disagree with that.
I do. So, do you agree that it was a 5-star match with him?
So when I'm going with a star rating, I don't base my review of a match solely on moves that are done during the match.
Sure.
Some people will say, your Meltzers and others that are giving ratings are only rating, 5 stars if it's if it's an hour-long match in the Tokyo Dome done with every move under the sun known to man. I'm more looking as far as storyline-wise goes and everything else, and I would put it up there with maybe not a true 5-star match, but I would definitely go 4 and above if I'm rating it.
Okay.
The storyline was tremendous. Like they had me hooked. They had me hooked going into the match with how they built the pay-per-view up. Then the match itself just played more into the storyline, which you want to see from your matches.
Very true.
And it furthered it on to where we get SmackDown last night and the next step in the story.
Yeah. So one of the reasons why I disagree with Disco Inferno is this is just my review of the match, that I don't put it at 5 stars. Do I think that the storytelling, to me, the storytelling leading up to the match was better than the storytelling in the match.
Really?
Yeah. I felt like a lot of what went on in that match, and especially the ending, fell flat. I didn't hate the match, but it wouldn't give me, to me, whenever I think of a 5-star match, that's something that I can watch over and over and over again. Not just the moves, but the whole thing. This is a match that I'm never going to go back and rewatch. Did I enjoy it? Yeah. I really have enjoyed what I've watched leading up to this. I think this is the best character Roman's been, ever since he's been on the main roster outside the beginning of S.H.I.E.L.D. I just feel that I kind of think that WWE has been so bad lately that they actually did something good here, and everybody's just like, this is the best thing ever, because WWE's neglected to give them something good in a long time. Do I think that this is the best thing WWE can offer? It might be, but it's not the best thing they've ever done ever, to warrant me saying that this match was a 5-star match. I kind of feel like it's whenever you're in the desert, looking for water, that you find a mirage and you drink the sand because that's all you know.
I don't know. That's a little too far on the other side of the spectrum, in my opinion. I mean, SmackDown has given you good storylines, not just with Roman, but they've given you storylines with Bayley and Sasha, with Alexa Bliss and The Fiend. Even Sami Zayn to a point with the IC title and coming back and saying I was never defeated and this and that. Like, they've given you storylines to buy into, and they've told those stories well so far, leading up to the pay-per-view and then again last night. Raw, we can't say the same as far as storytelling goes. To me, their stuff hasn't hit at all. But I agree with Disco. Like, my suspension and disbelief was there for that match. It wasn't, when you're watching, you're like, I'm watching wrestling. You know what I mean? That match wasn't like, oh, I'm sitting here watching wrestling. Like, it was a true fight. Roman gave an ass whooping like he said he was going to give an ass whooping. They brought in Jimmy to add another factor, another layer in the story. The whole match was set up for Roman to be this dominant force that wants to be acknowledged as the tribal chief and the head of the table, which I think they did to the degree that they were trying to reach. They definitely accomplished it during that match.
And for me, that's kind of where the match started to fall apart a little bit, was whenever Jimmy came out. So at one point, right before that, Jay hit a splash on Roman, and as he hit the splash, he low blowed Jay, and that really halted the match's pace at that point, because from that point on, it was a lot of Roman talking down to Jay,
but the low blow kick out was the, you had Corey Graves in that, was it incidental contact? Did he mean to do it? Like it?
Yeah.
It showed that other heel side of this Roman character. Not that I needed the low blow to beat you, because it wasn't that type of low blow.
No, it wasn't.
But it was, all right, like, I'm done playing around now. I'm gonna give you the business like I said I was gonna give you the business. And I think from there on, it was hammering home the point of, you're going to acknowledge me as the head of this family, the head of the table, the tribal chief. My island, I say and do things. And Roman furthered that last night with the promo that he gave.
Yeah.
He said, I gave you this opportunity to put your name on the marquee, to give you a big payday, to let you shine and do the family proud. I wasn't happy with what I did at the pay-per-view. It was the worst night of my life. We've been day ones. Mm-hmm. You think I enjoyed doing what I did at the pay-per-view? No, but I had to do it because you wouldn't just lay down and take the ass whooping. You wanted to continue to come after my title, which led into him, so you still want this title? You're still looking at it?
Yeah.
Well, how about I give you another shot at Hell in a Cell? I like Roman calling his shot and not waiting to be told who he's facing. Oh, you still don't get it? Like, I whooped your ass that bad. You still don't understand what I'm doing? Well, I'll give you another shot. But this time, the consequences are going to be on you. And I'm washing my hands of anything that happens based off of you continuing to look at and want my title.
And I will say, last night, them picking back up, which I didn't actually expect them to pick up the feud again. I kind of thought that was going to be a one and done type thing.
So did I. So nice continuation there with story and moving it along.
And I feel like, especially with the draft coming this upcoming week, building another continuation of this match, it's not putting Roman into a rushed feud,
right,
for Hell in a Cell. So whether or not the Usos stay on SmackDown or not, you're getting this match. And I actually felt like last night's promo kicking off SmackDown actually did continue my interest in this feud, which I thought I was going to be done with it after the ending to the match at Clash of Champions. But I am still invested. I just think overall, it's not that I've hated anything. I wasn't that as interested in that match as a lot of people seem to be. And I probably am in the minority of that. But I am interested in where they go from now until Hell in a Cell and seeing what they do in Hell in a Cell. Because I think the Hell in a Cell match is going to be better than what we saw at Clash of Champions. Because I think I think I said to you last week, during the match, I just felt like Roman didn't give him as much of an ass whooping as I was expecting. So I think, like you just said, gloves are off now. We're going to see that at Hell in a Cell. I think I'm more interested in the Hell in a Cell match now than I was for Clash of Champions.
Okay. And another thing from last night on SmackDown, which, continued at the pay-per-view, Sasha and Bayley. Sasha comes out, cuts a promo that, Sasha can cut, deliver.
Yeah.
That's, in her wheelhouse. She's been doing that ever since she's been in the ring. and started with the boss character. So she's always on point with that. But why run it next week? Why we talked about this before, and I said this is
we
something
talked about every week so far.
This is something that you could run and save and do your long term storytelling to where you have a legitimate blood feud blow off match at WrestleMania.
Yep.
And you run it next week for what?
My thoughts is that one of the two of them is getting drafted. I think that's why it's being held next week. The rumor is that this match could take place at Hell in a Cell as well to main event the show. I kind of see if I'm doing early booking, this is what I'm thinking right now. And I'm not saying this is what's going to happen. This is what I'm thinking the story's going to go. Is that next week Sasha probably gets drafted back to Raw on Friday. So before her match, she gets drafted to Raw. They have the match next Friday. It ends, somehow, DQ finish, some interference or whatever. And then that leads them, before Sasha is officially on Raw, she wants one more shot at Bayley at Hell in the Cell. And to me, it's a cheap payout.
But if you go that route, you're not going to have Sasha win the belt, get drafted to Raw, and have both women's champions on Raw. So what does that mean? Asuka gets drafted to SmackDown?
Oh, I don't think Sasha will win the belt. I think that we're going to see that she'll go, Bayley will win or retain, and Sasha goes to Raw, and, they go on their merry little way until next time.
I don't know. I hope they don't do that. Like, to me, this is set up so Sasha wins the belt and gets catapulted up as your top babyface champion. She defeated the big bad role model who was the longest reigning SmackDown Women's Champion of all time in a very personal feud that's been set up since them two started in the Performance Center back at NXT. I hope they do it right. I'm not as on board with it as I was before because of them jumping right into it next week.
Yeah.
So we'll see where that goes. Another thing from SmackDown last night that just continued on with great storytelling, Alexa Bliss and The Fiend. Sister Bliss is here, and The Fiend is all about it.
The thing that I was really interested last night during that promo, so usually it's Alexa Bliss coming out, being Alexa Bliss. And then she hears The Fiend or something, and then that switches her over. Like we kind of talked about that last week as well. This week, she just came out in character, like a new character.
And I think that was done because last week she actually let him in.
Okay.
So the way they did it last week during the match with Lacey Evans, you heard the laughing. She got in the trance. They went to commercial break. She was getting beat down, and then the lights went red all throughout the Thunderdome.
Mm-hmm.
She snapped and actually switched over to, I'm going to call her Sister Bliss because she's been hitting Sister Abigail and she's aligned with him now. So now, like, that was her breaking point last week. Like she said, Kevin Owens was like, well, you're brainwashed. And she goes, yes, I am. He washed my brain and now I see the light. He cleared away everything that was confusing me before.
Mm-hmm. So
she's this character now until they decide not to do this story anymore.
So you think this is it?
This is it. She's now Sister Bliss and gonna run with this character until they move on to something else. And I'm all for it. Like, they can go so many different directions with this.
Yeah.
For the longest time, it's like, well, what's the Fiend's weakness? You're trying to beat the Fiend. He doesn't feel pain. He doesn't get knocked down after moves. Like, what's his weakness? And to me, this could be his weakness. If you saw the end of that segment, after he takes out Kevin Owens, he turns around and he kind of looks at her and then walks over and she stands up staring at him and she puts her hand out and he takes it. So it's almost like she could be the one that could control him and not the other way around. That could be a story that you run with.
Mm-hmm.
So the look she gave into the camera, which horrible camera shot by Kevin Dunner because he missed majority of the look and the smile because he cut away to a different camera.
Okay.
She looked into one, he cut to another one, so it ruined the shot. But I'm very interested in seeing how they go with this and what they do with it because they can go so many different ways, and hopefully they continue to tell it right. Like I said, with Sasha and Bailey and Roman and Jay, they have some liquidity built up in me with their storytelling and writing on SmackDown right now. So I think they'll continue to move that in the right direction.
Yeah. One of the things that I really like about this is that since really the Wyatt family started, however many years ago that's been, there's always been this teasing of Sister Abigail. And once they started talking about Sister Abigail, everybody was like, well, who's going to play Sister Abigail? And it's always been that mystery, leading up. And there's always been rumors. Well, now it's being rumored this one's playing Sister Abigail. This one's going to play Sister Abigail. I think after Paige got injured, there was a rumor that she might just be like the mouthpiece and play Sister Abigail. So I kind of like that this is an evolution of Sister Abigail, but it's done with a already established character.
Yep, and somebody that can play it off. Alexa and Sasha right now are top notch as far as their acting goes, their facials, their mannerisms in the ring. They pull off their characters as best as anybody currently in the WWE right now, and that's why I'm so interested in their storylines.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, done very well. We'll see where it goes from here. I didn't watch any of Raw, so the couple of things that I flicked on while I was flipping back and forth between the football game on Monday night, it was the wash, rinse, repeat cycle that Raw does. You had the Hurt Business in a 6-man tag with Ali and Apollo and Ricochet. That's been done to death. You did see an AEW marquee pop up in the Thunderdome during that
Not the
match.
first time.
Not the first time it's been done. So kudos to AEW, and if that was a fan that did it, kudos to you to getting it on screen and on camera. But yeah, Raw, I don't care. You had Bobby Roode return. Okay, they've completely run him into the ground since he's been called up, so that doesn't really do too much for me.
I'm actually hoping he gets drafted back to SmackDown, and we can talk about the draft later on, because I felt like ever since he's been on Raw that his run's just been squashed. I felt he was treated better on SmackDown, and I think we'll see where the draft keeps everybody, but I was always hoping whenever AJ was WWE champion that Bobby Roode would at least gotten a shot at some point to have a match between the two again. Not saying that I wanted to see a Bobby Roode run, but I just thought he at least deserved to have one title shot in his life. Yeah,
and then you saw the continuation of Orton and McIntyre with Orton getting his revenge on the Legends for interfering in the match. Obviously, that's building to them being in the cell at Hell in a Cell, so there's no interference. I like I said after the pay-per-view, I'm over it. I don't care about this storyline no more. They completely ruined it for me by having them interfere.
And that felt like it was the payoff too. It didn't feel like we should go to Hell in a Cell now. It felt like that was the payoff.
Yeah, you have an ambulance match where everybody that Orton destroyed on the run up to the match itself, minus Edge, come back and get their revenge, and McIntyre stands tall, and yet we're going to continue this on to Hell in a Cell again. I'm completely over Raw. I don't really see, unless a couple people move that I absolutely want to watch, Raw's going to have to do a lot to get me reinvested and to get me to tune in on a weekly basis.
I agree.
So, all right, well, the WWE recap. Anything else in the world of wrestling this week that caught your eye? AEW Dynamite.
Yeah, I mean this week, AEW celebrated their 1-year anniversary.
Yep.
We're going to see the anniversary show on October 4th, but unfortunately, it definitely wasn't a first year that I'm sure that they wanted. A lot of bumps on the road due to COVID, but
Hey, for being a brand new company and dealing with something that's never been seen in the world of sports and professional wrestling, I think they adapted well.
I think so too.
They, WWE took a lot of their ideas on, putting wrestlers in the crowd and everything else. Like, I think AEW has handled it beautifully. They've been one step ahead. They have the luxury of being at Daly's Place, so they're allowed to get people in there, to have live fans in the stands,
and it being an
outdoor place. So yeah, I think they've handled it well over their year run. We'll see what goes on from there. As far as the show goes, the Miro Bachelor segment didn't really do too much for me because I have no idea who that guy was that showed up there at the end. Apparently some all-time big person in the gaming world. So that fell flat on me just because I don't know who he is. Cody's promo, I thought it was good, but I thought he could have did it a little bit differently to show a tweak in the character a little bit. To me, it was still the same babyface primary promo that he normally cuts. He did the little swerve by walking out of the ring and then coming back in, but I think there was a chance there to hit on something that he hasn't done yet to show new tweaks to his character since he, coming back after being destroyed by Brody Lee. So I do think the dog collar match will live up to the hype, and it will be just absolutely brutal spectacle between them two next week. So I'm happy with that.
We talked the other day, and I said, the new logo and everything, it kind of felt like this is supposed to be like Return of Superman, after the death of Superman. So I agree. It did fall a little flat on there. But I think I might wait and see how he does in the dog collar match to see if maybe we get a more aggressive side out of him or what we'll see in this upcoming week.
Darby and Ricky Starks was great to open the show. Those two were good.
I'm still not sure why they put that match on this week instead of saving it for
Full Gear.
Yeah, whether it's be Jericho's anniversary or anniversary show or Full Gear, I thought that match deserves something.
And again, we don't know what the changes to the cards have been since they got hit with COVID positive, so that could be why it got bumped up to last week when they were going to originally hold off onto it. That's changing. The continuation of the Hangman, Kenny Omega, Bucks storyline, Bucks super kicking Tony Schiavone while he's interviewing FTR. FTR kind of calling him out. Hey, we're right here. Why are you kicking him? We're here. Kick us. So that's continuing to build. Hangman on commentary, drinking, and just being absolutely heartbroken when they announced Kenny Omega as one of the participants in the tournament to determine the number one contender was just great. Hopefully Hangman they can not lean on the drinking as much as they have with him as a character, but I think this sets up to him and Omega meeting in the finals of the tournament to determine the number one contender.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think
even though they only gave us three of the eight this week, I think that's where that will go.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to seeing who else rounds out this tournament, in all eight. But early money is my guess could be Omega getting the title shot out of this. I don't know if they're planning on giving the title shot at Full Gear because we all know what the follow-up's going to be from Moxley's match with Lance Archer on the anniversary show in a couple weeks.
Right.
But if I'd actually like to see this end the tournament, I think they're talking about the tournament ending at Full Gear maybe, and I'd rather let them wait till the next pay-per-view or something in February.
So they do Full Gear and then
Revolution.
Last year,
I think
Revolution, right?
Yeah,
was in February.
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, AEW they want to run it like a season long type deal where first of the year, records get reset, standings change, and that. So, if Full Gear is your last pay-per-view of the year before you reset, I think you run this tournament and then you crown a new champion at Full Gear, whoever that's going to be, and you start your new season off with your new champion. I could be wrong in that, but if they're gonna book it like seasons go, to where records get erased, everybody starts over fresh at the beginning of the new year, then that's where I see that going with that.
Yeah, I feel like Moxley too. Will probably have a good chance of being a year-long champ. If it goes to Revolution again in February, but even if it's cut, at Full Gear, that's still he was champion the majority of 2020. It wasn't the best year to be champion, because he wasn't around for a few weeks due to COVID, being stuck at home, or I think he might have. I don't know if he tested positive, but I think Renee did.
Yeah, Renee did at one point. He was held out, so yeah. No, we'll see. Good couple weeks upcoming here from AEW with their show. They got Jericho's 30th celebration this coming Wednesday, and then the 1 year anniversary show after that with Moxley and Archer leading into Full Gear. Some other things in the world of professional wrestling this week. Impact has Victory Road on tonight.
Yeah.
Some of that card, you have Tommy Dreamer against Brian Myers. You have 4 out of the 8-man tag team match at Bound for Glory. You have 4 of those participants battling tonight. You have Eric Young against Eddie Edwards and some other matches. So, Impact's put on solid shows here. I don't really get the point of running a pay-per-view this close or a one-night special this close to your biggest pay-per-view of your year with Bound for Glory.
And that's how this should be building up, is that you're building to Bound for Glory, not doing Victory Road on the way Bound for Glory.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens with that. Yeah. MLW this week had some major announcements in their world for their restart. Court Bauer tweeted out that they signed a deal with UK and Ireland to get more eyes on the product overseas. Awesome. So that's great for MLW.
The more eyes, the better on MLW.
Yeah, they do their show right. Court's been great. Their talent there is great. I don't think once they get started, I think they'll be fine, and hopefully they get more eyes on the product, because that really is a good show and a good promotion to watch. NWA, you had your third week of your weekly primetime live events, and
I didn't get a chance to watch any.
Me either, but I did see Trevor Murdoch won the NWA National Championship.
Yeah.
So that was a storyline going into it. So he did win that, and good for him. He was in WWE years ago with Lance Cade. He may not look the best as far as appearance-wise goes, but he's a solid pro who's been around a really long time and knows what he's doing in the ring. So good for him capturing that championship there. And then, you have the continuation of Ring of Honor, New Japan tournaments. The Pure tournament has been really good to watch. Highly recommend going in and watching it if you're looking for a pure technical wrestling standpoint. It's definitely been good. They've told good stories in that. Everybody's getting proper airtime there. And then New Japan continuing on. I know last night they had the results from Block B. Some of the highlights there was Evil defeated Kenta.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then there was rumor going around that Okada's dealing with back issues.
Okay.
So I don't know how that's going to play out over the course of the rest of the G1 for him in the A block.
I've heard there's been some great matches. I haven't watched anything in the G1. Honestly, usually whenever the G1 rolls around, I find the tournament very confusing sometimes, just because there's so many matches with it, and how they run it. I kind of tune out from New Japan usually around this time. I'll follow to see who's leading, but I usually don't watch many of the matches unless I hear, hey, you gotta watch this one. And they've definitely had some classics over the years, but I still really I'm not completely sure who's going to win this tournament this year, but Okada going in was my favorite. So if there's a potential injury, that could definitely change things up.
All right.
And I don't know if you saw that NWA announced this week that they're planning on starting back up soon.
Yeah, I did see that. Billy Corgan sent out a tweet about NWA Power coming back on, so they're getting ready to have that start up in the works again. So good for them coming back. I enjoyed that show whenever it was on. So yeah, a lot of stuff in the world of professional wrestling. Good things here moving forward. We'll see how things shake out, over the course of this week, and talk about it again next week. So this has been Bell to Bell. Chug, 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 chug. This week's Drink of the Week segment is brought to you by that really drunk friend who tells you to slow down while making a left turn, but meanwhile you haven't pulled out of the parking lot yet.
I'm sorry about that.
It happens to everybody. True story that actually happened. My brother and I were sitting in the car, and we were in McDonald's parking lot at like 3:30 in the morning. He wanted chicken nuggets. So we're sitting there, and he's eating his chicken nuggets, and he drops his fries and his nuggets everywhere, and he looks at me, and he's like, slow down on the turns, dude. And I'm like, we're in the parking lot. We haven't left yet. So cheers to that guy, and also cheers for being the DD.
Yeah, I mean, McDonald's nuggets and fries, that's a good drunk meal. Last week we talked about Taco Bell, but yeah, right. That hits just right.
So what do we got this week on Drink of the Week?
This week we have Ayinger Oktober Fest-Märzen. So this is actually an Oktoberfest Märzen from Germany. So happy October, everybody. I think this was a good one to start the month with.
Yeah, we did a couple other Oktoberfest here, but this one, as you said, is true to form. Actually brewed in Germany. They're a respected and family-owned and operated brewery since 1878. We'll give it a go here and see what we think. All right, so 5.8% alcohol here. Not overly strong as far as alcohol content goes, but overall, this is a really smooth beer.
It is. I was looking up that Oktoberfest in Germany is held every year in Munich. Not this year, of course, but I saw that Ayinger is about 15 miles outside of Munich. So, this definitely is something that probably would be in Oktoberfest every year. The flavor profile on here, it's definitely a smooth beer. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, it is. It says it's a amber-colored, rich, full-bodied lager beer. So definitely is flavor profile wise. It definitely is. As far as comparing it to other Oktoberfest, I can tell the difference.
Yeah.
With it being like a true German brewed Oktoberfest, you can tell the difference compared to the breweries in the States that brew an Oktoberfest.
Yeah, I think this is a more traditional lager where, I think stuff that's brewed here, they try to give some extra flavor profiles in there, to be a little differently.
Right.
To stand out maybe. But no, this tried and true. Definitely a very good lager. Definitely something that I could drink. It's a little bit heavier than I expected it to be.
It is. I don't think you could sit there and drink 6 or 7 of these in one sitting. But no, if you're out at a bar, getting or a pub as they would say across the pond. But if you're there, getting some food, watching some football, soccer here for all you people that didn't know that. But I would sit down and have a couple of these while I eat some fish and chips, or a bratwurst if I'm over there in Germany,
or some shepherd's pie or something like that.
Yep. Sumo scale 1 to 5. What are you gonna go with?
Sumo scale, I think I'm gonna go 4.
Okay, nice. I'll go 3.5.
Okay.
on the higher side of the Oktoberfest that we've had, like I said, it's true to form. It's a natural German brewed Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
But I think because of the fullness and the heaviness of it, I'll give it a 3.5.
I can definitely see me, being at Oktoberfest and having a stein full of this, and
Oh yeah, if I'm in Munich for Oktoberfest, yeah, I definitely I'm grabbing a stein of this for sure.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Well, that was the breakdown of Ayinger Oktoberfest. And as always, we ask for you guys to pick up your solo cups, your shot glasses, your bottles, your cans, whatever you're drinking out of, and raise a glass to good ships and wood ships and ships that sail the seas. But the best ships are friendships, and friends will always be. Prost.
Prost.
All right, folks, this week of the week in sports is going to be brought to you by COVID-19, unfortunately. As we said in the introduction to the podcast this week, Cam Newton tested positive for COVID-19. That news broke earlier in the day, today, Saturday. And just now, ESPN gave an update with the Patriots-Chiefs game for Sunday will be rescheduled to Monday or Tuesday after positive COVID-19 tests on both teams. That son of a bitch COVID is running wild, brother, in the NFL. We saw the Steelers and Titans get rescheduled to later on in the season, effectively giving both teams a bye week this week and moving the games around. They made the announcement yesterday that the Steelers and Titans will now play week 7, which then moved the Steelers-Ravens game to week 8 during the Ravens' original bye week. The Ravens will now have a bye week 7. So a lot of juggling pieces going on in this. Eventually, you're going to run into a scenario where it's early in the year now, so you can move around bye weeks and that with teams. But eventually, you're going to get into a scenario where come week 8 or 9, this is going to happen, and you're not going to have bye weeks to move games to, move the schedule around. So I have no idea how the NFL is going to handle this. And one of the knocks on them this week is, well, what's your protocol say for this scenario? What's going to happen? If it's 1 or 2 people, are you going to cancel the game altogether? Are you going to try to reschedule it? Are you going to say, hey, tough luck, like those players got to quarantine and sit. Anybody that's contract trace got to sit, and we're going to just move forward and play the game. I don't know what they're going to do, but COVID is definitely causing a lot of issues for the NFL, 1 month into their season.
Have they, and excuse my ignorance on this because I don't remember them saying anything yet, have they said what their Super Bowl plans are this year yet?
So right now the Super Bowl is scheduled. I forget the date that it's scheduled for. I believe they originally left the date the same. Okay. Still in Tampa for the date that they had it. And I know from listening to the Pat McAfee show that the NFL in the city that they host the Super Bowl in, all the hotels and convention center or wherever, like they do their media row stuff at and all that, they have those booked for a certain period of time, right? Well, in this instance, all the hotels and everything else, the NFL had the rights to those places booked for up to 4 weeks after the original Super Bowl date.
Okay.
In case situations would pop up to where they had to push the Super Bowl back, they would still be able to have media come in, whatever. I don't know how you would do that this year with COVID anyways, because it's not your typical regular circumstances. So that's interesting. But they do have reservations on those places for up to a month after the original Super Bowl's date.
Okay.
So we'll see. Like I said, I don't know what's going to happen with this. We knew going into it, it was going to be hard. You have teams traveling from different areas across the country. It was going to be a lot of self-accountability and responsibility to follow the strict protocols so games could be played. The NFL sent out a memo that players, are not allowed to leave the home team city during bye weeks. They have to stay there. Potential punishment or fines for positive tests. Like, I don't know how you find somebody for getting a disease that is globally around the world.
Yeah. And depending on how they catch it, sometimes it can be easily traced back, sometimes it can't. So, if they get it from someone from the office or
right,
one
yeah,
of their players, it's just like it happens.
You don't know. And that's one of the risks that they were going to run into without doing a bubble. Now, Major League, as we said in the past, weeks of the podcast, they ran into issues early on with positive COVID tests, and people were thinking, they're going to have to cancel the season. They just put their head down and barreled through it, and everything worked out. Now they're moving their playoffs into a bubble after these first rounds here.
Maybe that's what the NFL needs to do. Once it comes time for playoffs, think about doing a playoff bubble and.
Yeah, I mean we'll see. But definitely going to be an interesting week. Players of say Cam Newton's magnitude being out. Obviously, if they were to play the game, it would be a different case because him being out, that affects sports betting.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of money gets bet on Sundays during the NFL season. So
this year than there was betting
that affects stuff like that. A lot of people don't want to hear this, but fantasy football is huge.
Yeah.
So some of these leagues you have high buy-ins. My league not so much that I'm involved in, but I'm directly affected this week. I had Derrick Henry, so he's no longer in my lineup, and a lot of people will be like, well, that's stupid, it doesn't matter. Well, yeah, in a way it doesn't, because this is bigger than fantasy football. But I mean, my point is that there's a lot of pieces and money that's not just money generated by the league that is affected by teams, individuals, and games being canceled. And the NFL is already losing revenue. They don't want to have to lose revenue more by canceling games altogether and so on and so forth. So we'll see how that shakes out and breaks down in the upcoming weeks here.
Yeah, definitely interesting to see how this tracks because, we've talked about this in other sports and other things over the past few weeks. So, yeah, I'm interested to following up on this and seeing what happens this week.
All right. Congratulations to the Tampa Bay Lightning for winning the Stanley Cup this year. Yep. Interesting to note that they did have a parade celebration. It was done by boat.
Okay.
But then they ended the boat parade by ending at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Raymond James Stadium. And there was video of players letting fans drink out of the Stanley Cup.
I did see that.
So
I saw they got some flack for it.
So pay attention to the numbers that may potentially spike down in Tampa, Florida, because everybody and their mother is drinking out of the Stanley Cup here over the last week.
I mean, even without COVID, I would never drink out of that thing, with hundreds of people around drinking from it. But yeah, I definitely see that possibility happening because even after they won the game, they were kind of doing some social distancing even on the ice a little bit with everything, like how they took the picture and the passing of the trophies. So
yeah, so there's that. NBA finals are underway, and you guys can hop on over to our YouTube channel to catch our NBA finals breakdown. Game 2 was last night. The Lakers won again. They're up 2-0 in the series, and we'll see how the rest of the series plays out. Miami's banged up. I think the Heat coach Eric Spoelstra had the quote of the night last night when asked about being down 2-0, and he said, we don't give a shit that we're down 2-0. So we'll see if they battle back. I like that attitude from your coach. Mike Tomlin had the same type of response when asked about, oh, well, your bye week's now week 4, and now you have to essentially play, up to 19 weeks in a row if you want to get through Super Bowl. And Mike Tomlin, true to fashion, just looked dead in the camera and said, "We don't care." So if you like that response and you're a Pittsburgher and you're a Yinzer, hop on over to the Pat McAfee shop store. They made a T-shirt that says "We don't care" - Coach T. So you can get your "We don't care" shirt there. But definitely interesting to see what goes on here. Moving forward, hopping into Major League Baseball this week, playoffs got underway. We now know that the next round of playoff series are going to be Tampa Bay against the Yankees, Houston against the Athletics, the Marlins against the Braves, and the Dodgers and Padres. Any thoughts on those series and who you see advancing?
Honestly, I haven't followed much baseball this year. We talked about the Pirates a few weeks ago and how they just break our hearts. But
yeah, speaking of the Pirates, Zach Banner from the Steelers tweeted a response tweet to, I believe it was Bob Pompiani, who sent out the video of the playoff game against the Reds where Cueto dropped the ball and the crowd is going nuts. And Russell Martin with the home run and just absolutely just bananas in the stands. And Zach Martin tweeted out, hey, what do we have to do to get this type of energy back in baseball in Pittsburgh? And, I tweeted out, well, you have to have a Pirates who get an owner who gives a damn and spends money on talent and drafts well, kind of like the family that runs things down there on the other side of the North Shore.
Yep.
Which is true. Like,
it's absolutely true.
We said this before, Pittsburgh is a baseball town. You will get sellouts and you'll get people there. Just give us a reason and let us know that you actually care and going to put a team on the field. I believe that's part of the reason why people like you and myself haven't tuned in to baseball this year and haven't really watched these playoff games because we have no reason to care.
Yeah.
So why tune in?
I mean, I'll tune into the World Series, so as it gets closer, I'll start following it a little bit better, and then. But yeah, right now I really don't know enough about the teams to even.
I will be interested to see if Houston continues to advance in this postseason, given everything that they faced coming into the year with being caught with the whole cheating scandal that they dealt with banging on the trash cans and stealing signs and everything else. So we'll see if they continue to move forward here and advance going forward. So, interesting to see there. I don't really have a favorite or know who's going to win this. My gut is saying the Dodgers just because of the talent that they have on the field. We'll see, but if you had held a gun to my head and say you pick between these 8 teams who's going to win the World Series, I'll go ahead and say the Dodgers.
Okay.
From that standpoint, college football, get another slate of games. We did say last week the Pac-12 made their announcement. They're coming back. They announced their 6-game schedule this morning on College Game Day. So they're going to play 6 games here moving forward, starting in November. Again, no room for error, so we'll kind of see how they handle COVID and deal with that moving forward. So good slate of games today that are on. Again, Pitt, as a Pitt fan, chance to go 4-0 for the first time since the year 2000. They're not on TV. You want to know why they're not on TV? Because they're on the stupid ACC network that you can't get anywhere. I don't even know if Comcast offers it to buy add it onto their package. But this is causing a huge issue, and I don't understand why the ACC is doing it right now, given everything else going on.
Yeah.
Why are you forcing the ACC network onto people where it's not even readily available to everybody?
Yeah, I think that's definitely something that, unfortunately, it's a contract they have to go from provider to provider to deal with. But I think this is one of those things that whenever they launch these new networks, you know, especially if you're going to move all these teams' games to that channel, they need to have it in the majority of homes. I know it's on YouTube TV, but I'm not even sure if it's on FiOS. Like, I know it's on Comcast because that's what me and you have, but
right.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's on FiOS. I know it's on like YouTube TV. I think it might be on Fubo, but yeah, it's just one of those things that just bothers me with television contracts that, you know, they're going to be asking for more money, but, you know, I mean, it's an ESPN-owned station, so it's like, you know, ESPN can package it with something, or they can take one of their other, like, if you get ESPN3 on Comcast, remove ESPN3 and give them the ACC network.
Yeah, and and before this year, games that were on the ACC network, you could catch them locally on WTAE.
Yeah.
So there were pit games that were on the network, but you would see them because regionally they would be shown on WTAE TV. So it wasn't that big of an issue. Now if it's on ACC network, they're not showing it anywhere else besides the ACC network. So we'll see how that plays out going here, you know, moving forward. For this part of the country, you know, like I said, 2 weeks in a row, I've wanted to sit and watch a pit game and haven't been able to because they've been on the ACC network. I don't know what else is going to come of that moving forward, but it's just a shame that they actually have a team that I'm invested in this year and that's good, and I can't watch them.
Yeah. I mean, you can't watch it, number one, because you don't have the channel, and number two, you can't even go to a bar to watch it.
Nope, can't even go to a bar to watch it. Absolutely. And then last thing that I want to touch on this week in sports here, pitcher from the St. Louis Cardinals, Bob Gibson, passed away. One of the all-time great pitchers. You know, if you want to look at a dominant pitcher, there's very few that are better than Gibson. And just to put that into perspective, his 1968 season, he had a 1.12 ERA. I believe in a stretch from June through July, beginning August, he pitched 12 games, had 12 complete games, 12 wins, 9 shutouts. And he was so dominant that year that Major League Baseball actually changed the rules going into the 1969 season, where they lowered the mound and shrunk the strike zone to give hitters a chance against a pitcher that was that dominant.
Yeah, that's impressive.
So rest in peace to him.
Did they say what he passed away from?
No, I don't remember what it was.
It was natural causes.
I believe it was natural causes, but you know, again, somebody that was before my time as far as a player, but somebody that I learned about through being a baseball fan and growing up playing baseball, and just one of the all-time greatest pitchers. I believe Mark Madden tweeted out that he's the greatest pitcher he's ever seen in his lifetime. Mm-hmm. So truly one of the all-time legends in baseball, passing away this week. So rest in peace to him. And Chris, if you don't have anything else, you got something else?
I got one thing. Okay. I know me and you really enjoyed the XFL this year, even though it was a limited season. But The Rock tweeted out this week that the XFL is going to return in 2022.
Spring of 2022. Yep.
So no exact start date yet, but you know, I think we're all looking forward to it. I think it's smart to skip 2021. Just much like when Vince said that he was launching XFL in 2020. You know, he had a 2-year plan, you know, before he relaunched the brand, and I think that's going to give him a lot of time to, number one, figure out what's going on with COVID, seeing if they're going to be safe by 2022 or not, which hopefully they will be. And then that gives them a lot of time to reach out to XFL players and maybe scout some college recruits. You know?
Yep. No, absolutely. That's good news there. Like you said, I truly enjoyed the XFL while it was on. A lot of the things that they did this year in their league, the NFL could take a hold of and run with, because it definitely made the game more enjoyable to watch, faster paced game. So yeah, congrats to The Rock and his team and owners there, and we'll see what comes of that in 2022. But definitely exciting news here, and that's all I got for this week in sports.
All right, boys and girls, Steve's giving me those go-home cues here. So we're going to wrap things up. If you haven't had a chance, go back onto YouTube and watch our 2 special editions that me and Steve did. They were our first 2 video podcasts. We did an episode on the NBA final predictions and also on NXT TakeOver 31 predictions. So yeah, if you haven't watched those, please go back and do so. As always, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And then you can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and iHeartRadio. Steve, what do you have any thoughts before we end the show?
Yeah, no, you hit on everything. Again, find us on YouTube. Watch the videos, the breakdowns for NXT for tomorrow night and the NBA Finals, like Chris said, and give us some feedback. Let us know if you'd like that. I enjoyed doing the videos, so hopefully in the future here, moving forward, you'll see more of our smiling, beautiful faces.
Yeah, stay tuned. Stay tuned to our social media. See if we announce any upcoming episodes.
Yep, and then that'll also lead into hopefully us doing some live watch-alongs and that, so we can engage in real time with everybody out there. And be on the lookout again in the next coming weeks here for the Dumb Marks Podcast email address, so you can email the show, and we'll read your questions, comments, concerns, critiques, whatever it may be. We'll read those over on the air and get into that a little bit. So again, thanks for that.
Yeah. Until then, make sure that you leave some comments on any social media, on YouTube, on our videos, on social media, Twitter, Facebook, whatever. Keep the conversation going with us.
Yep. Rate, review, subscribe, and interact. We're open we're open books. We're ready to engage with the dumb marks out there, and we'll like to interact with you guys on all the social media platforms, and leaving you guys with a quote of positivity for the week from Inky Johnson, who's a motivational speaker. If you don't know him, by all means, search him out on social medias and give him a follow. Great person, great inspiration. And he said, the little things matter. A kind word, encouragement, sharing your mistakes, being honest and vulnerable, having and displaying accountability, capturing the lesson in opposition, building up others. Remembering, anyone can be negative and complain. Find perspective. So here's to you guys finding your perspective. And until next time, you can catch us around the way.